Everyone's telling you to cut people off, build walls, and protect your energy by going solo. But what if that's the biggest trap in personal growth? Here's what nobody talks about. Isolation doesn't make you stronger, it makes you brittle. Real power isn't about hiding from the world, it's about moving through it untouched. I'm about to show you how to stay connected without losing yourself. And trust me, you'll want to watch until the end because this changes everything. How connection actually makes you bulletproof. Let's flip the script on everything you've been told about self-protection. The gurus sell you isolation like it's enlightenment. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When you withdraw from the world, you're not evolving. You're just hiding. And hiding never made anyone powerful. The strongest people throughout history weren't hermits. They were right in the thick of it, navigating chaos without becoming chaotic themselves. Think about it. Every breakthrough in your life came from friction, not comfort. Your biggest lessons weren't learned in silence. They came from conversations that challenged you, relationships that tested you, situations that forced you to level up. But somewhere along the way, self-help culture convinced you that discomfort equals danger. So now, you're running from the very thing that could transform you. Here's where it gets interesting. Research from MIT's Human Dynamics Laboratory found that the most successful teams aren't the ones with the smartest individuals. They're the ones with the best communication patterns. Translation: your ability to connect and navigate human dynamics directly determines your success. Not your IQ, not your work ethic, your social intelligence. And you can't develop that in a bubble. The isolation trend is really just fear with a spiritual filter on it. You call it protecting your energy, but it's actually avoiding the work of developing boundaries. Real boundaries don't require distance, they require discipline. You don't need to unfriend everyone who disagrees with you. You need to get strong enough that disagreement doesn't destabilize you. When you isolate, you're outsourcing your peace to external conditions. You're basically saying, "I'll only be okay if I control my environment completely." That's not power. That's fragility with extra steps. Powerful people can walk into any room, deal with any personality, face any challenge, and walk out unchanged. Not because they avoided contamination, but because they're uncontaminatable. Identify one relationship you've been avoiding because it requires emotional effort. Instead of cutting it off, engage with clear boundaries and see what happens, what staying connected without getting corrupted actually looks like. Here's the skill nobody teaches: energetic sovereignty. It's the ability to be fully present in any situation without absorbing the chaos around you. Think of a submarine navigating deep waters. It doesn't avoid the ocean. It's designed to function within it. That's what you need to become, built for immersion without drowning. Most people swing between two extremes. Either they're closed off completely, operating like emotional robots, or they're so porous that every comment, every opinion, every bad mood in the room becomes theirs. Both strategies fail because they're based on the wrong assumption that your internal state depends on your external environment. It doesn't. Your stability has to come from within. When you know who you are at your core, other people's energy becomes background noise. You can sit across from someone having a complete meltdown and remain centered. Not cold, not disconnected, just unshaken. That's not something you're born with. It's something you build through deliberate practice. The difference between empathy and emotional absorption is everything. Empathy says, "I understand what you're feeling." Absorption says, "Now I'm feeling it too, and I can't function." One is strength. The other is codependency, dressed up as compassion. You can care deeply about someone's struggle without making it your struggle. You can offer support without becoming a casualty yourself. Here's what changes the game. When you stop seeking validation from every interaction, you become immune to manipulation. People can't push your buttons if you've disconnected the wiring. They can try all their usual tactics: guilt, pressure, emotional blackmail, and you just observe it happening without reacting. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. This is where real freedom lives. You're not controlled by fear of what others might think, say, or do. You move through the world with your compass set to your own true north, adjusting for obstacles, but never losing direction. Other people's storms don't blow you off course because you're anchored to something deeper than circumstances. Next time someone tries to provoke you emotionally, Pause for 3 seconds before responding. Watch the impulse to react. Then choose your response consciously.
Why invincible doesn't mean unavailable. Let's destroy another myth. You don't need armor if your foundation is solid. Being invincible isn't about building walls so thick nothing gets through. It's about having a core so strong that nothing can crack it. And here's the paradox that breaks people's brains. The stronger your center, the softer your exterior can be. You can be kind, open, vulnerable, and still completely unbreakable. Look at anyone who's made real impact in the world. They weren't hiding in safe spaces. Martin Luther King Jr. walked into crowds that wanted him dead. Maya Angelou wrote about her deepest trauma for millions to read. Elon Musk puts his reputation on the line with every tweet. None of them played it safe, but none of them got destroyed either, because their sense of self wasn't dependent on external approval. The trap is thinking that exposure equals weakness. You've been programmed to believe that if people see the real you, they'll use it against you. So you perform, you hide, you show only the polished version. But that performance is exhausting, and it keeps you locked in a prison of your own making. Authentic strength means you can be fully seen and remain unfazed by judgment. Research from Brené Brown's work at the University of Houston shows that vulnerability is actually the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. The people who hide behind perfection never create anything revolutionary. It's the ones willing to be exposed, criticized, and misunderstood who move the needle. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they're not controlled by the fear of it. Here's what nobody tells you. When you stop protecting an inflated self-image, you become attack-proof. Criticism can't hurt you if you're not attached to being perfect. Rejection can't break you if your worth isn't tied to acceptance. Failure can't defeat you if you see it as data, not identity. You become like water, adapting to every container without losing your essential nature. Share something authentic about yourself this week that feels slightly uncomfortable. Notice how it doesn't actually destroy you. Impact: what would you do differently if you knew criticism couldn't hurt you? If this is resonating, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. How to build relationships that elevate instead of drain. Final piece of the puzzle: strategic connection. This is where you stop being a passive participant in your relationships and start being the architect. You choose who gets access, how much access they get, and what terms they get it on. Not from ego, but from wisdom. Not from fear, but from self-respect. Most people treat their social life like a free-for-all. Anyone can walk in, take up space, demand attention, create drama. Then they wonder why they're constantly exhausted. But energy management isn't selfish, it's essential. You have a finite amount of bandwidth. Spending it on people and situations that deplete you isn't noble, it's self-sabotage. Think like a world-class athlete. They don't train with just anyone. They're selective about coaches, training partners, even the environments they practice in, because they understand that excellence requires the right conditions. Your mental and emotional development works the same way. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not people who keep you comfortable in dysfunction. Here's the shift that changes everything. When you're solid in yourself, you naturally attract better connections. You stop tolerating disrespect masked as friendship. You don't accept breadcrumbs of attention from people who should be offering full meals. You become discerning not because you're judgmental, but because you value your peace more than you value being liked. And this is crucial. Being accessible doesn't mean being available 24/7. You can be warm, kind, generous with your time and energy, and still have firm boundaries. You can help people without becoming their emotional crutch. You can be supportive without enabling their dysfunction. The key is knowing where you end and they begin. The ultimate freedom is realizing you don't have to choose between connection and protection. You can have both. You can be in the world fully, without being of it. You can engage deeply without getting lost. You can care intensely without being consumed. It's all about operating from a place of wholeness instead of neediness. Practical action. Audit your relationships this month. Keep the ones that energize you, set boundaries with the ones that drain you, and release the ones that refuse to respect those boundaries. Evolution. What's one relationship pattern you're ready to completely transform? If you made it this far, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. appreciate you being here. This content is for educational and reflective purposes regarding personal development. It does not replace professional guidance from licensed therapists or mental health professionals when needed.